Hi, welcome to Link Internationally, a multilingual podcast where we are learning internationally and networking the kingdom. There were more than 6.9 million international students in 2022, and that figure is constantly growing. I'm Anza, your host. I invite you to join me as I discover the inspiring physical and spiritual journeys of international students as they share their personal, life-changing experiences with us. These stories enable us to enlarge our vision of what God has been doing in and through international student migration around the world in order to make His name known among the nations. Hello, it is my pleasure to interview Cecilia today. Cecilia is from an island in the south of Mexico. That's where she grew up. And she left Mexico to study in France over 2 years ago. It is her story that we'll hear today. So hi, Cecilia.
Hi.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be interviewed. Gracias. I am really pleased to hear more about you, your life experience, and to learn more about the place where you grew up, but also your more recent move to France to study. And Mexico is a country big enough on the world scene that maybe most of our listeners and myself would have some ideas about it. You know, maybe some stereotypes, cliches, but it's always great to hear firsthand from a local person. So thank you very much. So you told me you're from an island. That got me a bit surprised because I don't know Mexico well enough to know the islands, but what is your island called and what is it like to live and to grow up there?
I know it's not very famous. It's tiny, but I really like it. I'm from an island in the south of Mexico, and it's called City of Carmen, in Spanish, Ciudad del Carmen. It's in the state of Campeche, and for me, it was the perfect city to grow up. It's very humid, very tropical, so it's very common to wear sandals every season, and that is where my love of seafood comes from. Actually, the beach, it's only 20 minutes away from my home. So my family and I really enjoy going to the sea to see the sunsets as much as we can. And I think I didn't really appreciate it until I left for the first time. And I used to think it was sort of boring before because it was really cold. But now it's something I really look for that I really appreciate when I go and visit again.
Wow, that does sound amazing to me. Sunsets by the beach on an island. So, can you tell us about your family and childhood in that place and maybe who were the significant people for you at the time and why?
Okay, sure. I live with my two parents and my older sister, so we're four. And both of my parents work all day. So living in a small city was actually perfect for them because it was easier to drop my sister and I to school and after to our extracurricular activities. Over the weekend, we usually just I used to chill in the house, watch movies, occasionally just go eat by the beach, and sometimes even go for a swim inside. And living in a small place really helped us to be a more united family. Overall, I had an amazing childhood. My parents always supported me, and I believe they always tried their 100% to be present. I remember a lot that for 8 years I took piano lessons, and they never missed a recital. And I know my parents always tried to make me more responsible and to teach me about consistency. I have this memory a lot in my mind that when I was like 6 or 7 years old, I had this big board with each time I ate a fruit or drank a glass of water, I will cross a box. And at the end, when you finish, which was maybe a month that took me to finish a board, we will go to get a toy. It was like the prize. And in my hometown, we were only the four of us. So my extended family lived in the center of Mexico, and I really love cooking the Christmas Eve dinner with them. And usually, as much as we could, every December, we used to go with them at the center of Mexico with my cousins live, uncles, and my grandma. I remember a lot the magic behind because I don't know for you, but in Mexico, it is very common to write letters to Santa Claus and receiving a present on Christmas in the morning. So since I can remember as a child, that was something I was waiting for a whole year. And my parents
Mm.
always made it special and try to keep the magic as long as they could. So I really appreciate it. I think that was the main thing for Christmas when I was little. More than family, I think at the beginning it was the presents. So my I met like a lot of friends in that city. and many of them I'm still close with them. It's like a very big friendship that started there. So I just have like a lot of memories and adventure from that city.
You know, when I think of Mexico, I remember a cartoon or several even with a character who had an impressive, absolutely humongous Mexican hat. Um, or I think of the Mexican food, which is not so Mexican. Mexican friends tell me. Fajita, tortilla, but the ones you can buy outside of Mexico. They say they're not really the same, but we can find them in supermarkets around the world. So, what are some of the typically cultural elements or events that you can share with us to help us understand the context better?
For example, in the gastronomy, the Mexican cuisine, I believe tortillas are 100% the base. We have them in very different sizes, shapes, and texture, and we have many colors in the plates. I think we use a lot of spices and sauces. Me personally, I never really enjoy spicy food, so I can tell you there are very different variations from the same plate that you can try. Have maybe the same sauce, but it can be not so spicy or really spicy. Depends on whatever you want
Mm,
at that point. And one of my
mm.
favorite dishes is chicken with mole. And mole is a sauce made of chocolate and many other ingredients. And I know it sounds weird, but it's really good. It's salty and sweet. And for example, my family, because I don't like it spicy, they always put a lot of chocolate and sugar, so it's not that spicy for me, and it's really good. And for example, another thing in the culture that I really like, it's I know mariachi. I don't know if you know about it. What is a mariachi? No,
No. Mhm.
it's
What is it?
well, mariachi is like a group of singers in Mexico. They wear special, not special, with a kind of costumes with a lot of colors and a big Mexican hat. So the big
Mm,
stereotype, but I really like it. They're just famous singers that they dress in a specific way, and they use guitars and trumpets and violins, and they're like a group. We have many of those in Mexico. It's very common, and I think that's a very known picture, at least in people from outside that I have heard. And I really love that because the music is a very big part of my culture. And even here in France, I listen to it when I feel closer to home. And I believe in
mm.
general, people in Mexico are really warm and open to start a conversation with a stranger. And I really like that.
Yeah, you know, Cecilia, you make me want to eat some really delicious Mexican food right now. Though I'm not so good at strong spices, so maybe I should try the mole, maybe because it all sounds very good. So now I'd like to move on to your adult life. What did you study at university, and how was that experience for you? Did you stay near the island where you grew up, or did you have to move away from your family? I know now you're in France, but to start with, where did you study?
Oof, I had to move kind of far. I actually went into a university that is in the north of Mexico. It's in a city called Monterrey, which is around 25 hours by car from my hometown. We actually did that. We used to
Wow.
love driving by car in Mexico. So we used to do that like maybe twice, 24 hours going, 25 hours like back. And I study biomedical engineering, which has the objective of applying technology to healthcare. It's sort of mechatronics applied to healthcare. And I really enjoyed the whole experience. I grew up a lot as a person, and I learned a lot. It was the first time I was living 100% alone, so I had to learn to be more responsible and to manage my time correctly. And things I used to do
Hmm.
at home because I was told or didn't want to do because I was being lazy, were I was in college. For example, at home, my mom used to do like good groceries, and sometimes I used to go with her, but many times no because I was just tired. But in college, that was not an option at all. I remember one time I was being lazy, I didn't go, and then I had nothing to eat. So I had to learn
Hmm.
to go even if I had exams. So I just didn't want to go. In general, I know I just learned many basic tasks like doing laundry and washing dishes that I know they're something you must know, but living at home, it's not something you usually prioritize. So I just had to
Hmm.
adjust to doing things on my own and not depend on the love of my mom that she gave me when we were at home. And for
Hmm.
example, my best friends at college, the first friends that I had that became my best friends there, actually I started knowing them because I asked for help in certain subjects. And Also, I had to learn how to navigate challenges with people I have never worked before, and even to learn to work with difficult people. I have a lot of stories there. And I had to
Mm,
learn how to deal with real stress for the first time, the correct ways, and sometimes not so correct. And just in general, to learn to solve challenges I had never faced before. And I had to get really creative and to just learn how to ask for help, something that I was just very new for me. And
mm.
something that was very excited for me, that I got to meet people from different parts of my same country, and I learned a lot from them. I didn't think they like we had so many different traditions and points of view in the same country. So that was something really I really appreciate about that journey.
Celia, you follow Jesus, and I want to ask you, did you grow up in a family that follows Jesus? Did you grow up knowing him personally, or if not, how did you get to know him? Can you tell us?
I actually grew up in a Catholic family. I don't know if you knew, but usually people in Mexico, they are Catholic, either if they practice it or not, but in general, that's like the main what people usually follow. And but my family, I think they really prioritized it. Like my mom really tried for us to have a relationship with God, and she was very present with that. It wasn't just a fact or a name that we had. No, but we're really trying to have a relationship with God. So yeah, I always had that sort of relationship with him. I think from since I can remember, I went to church every week. I pray almost every day. Went to like a church school to learn more about like the Bible. And in general, I believe I acted correctly. And I was
Mm,
even a little bit different from my friends growing up. I was trying to do things correctly and to be just a kind person based on the values that my parents taught me and that I believe will please God. And as a kid, I don't really recall receiving a specific answer for a prayer, but I do think now that it was probably because I did not receive it in the way I was expected. I used to believe that if I didn't see it in the way I asked for, it was not answered. It wasn't until later
right.
that I started learning the difference. Even until now, I'm still learning. So when I was around 50 years old, my sister gave her life to Jesus. And that's actually when I started getting curious about who God really is and to ask questions and research on my own. That's how I remember, that's how I actually started getting closer to him.
Mm,
And for the first time, I remember when I was, I think, 15, probably, I grabbed a Bible and I started reading it. And I realized it was not as hard to follow as I thought. I started getting more curious and will look for a Christian book that will touch a specific topic. For example, I really asked myself like how God proves himself to other people that do not believe in him. For example, atheists that will only believe if you show scientific proofs. So how do science and history can back him up? So I read sorry, the Case of Christ. I don't know if you know it, but I think it's a famous book. Maybe it's just me.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's about yeah. I really
yeah.
there's also a movie about it in case people don't want to read the book. There's a movie summarizing the whole thing, but just in case, it's about the real story and research about an atheist journalist that wants to prove Christianity is not real. And actually, the funny part is like at the end, the author actually becomes Christian because the proofs pointing towards Christianity as truthful is really overwhelming. And I learned
Mm,
a lot from this book. And another thing is that I actually remember the first Christian book that I read was called The Purpose-Driven Life. And this book changed the way I saw my life and my relationship with Jesus. It helped me understand that you cannot find purpose of your like in yourself, the purpose of life in yourself, but only within Jesus. I started going to Bible studies with my mom when I was, I think, 16, and I was learning to understand Jesus' words. That was the first time that I started not to accept everything I listen from others about God, but to be more discerning and to really try to
mm,
find the truth from the Bible. And later in my life, I ended up a little bit far from Jesus. I kept praying to God or reading the Bible, but my life did not really reflect God as a main purpose. I started having friends that did not prioritize God, and in general, I really just starting losing myself to the world. But gladly, a year and a half ago, approximately, I gave my life back to him, and even since 6 months ago, I was baptized. Since then, I've been really hungry for his word, and I have
Mm.
learned so much more in this past year and a half than in all my life. The moment I decided to give my life to Jesus and to truly put him in the center of my life, I thought it was going to take me months to go back to him because I feel really far from him. But it wasn't like that.
Mm.
I felt it was instantaneously, and I felt peace I haven't felt in so long. And I cannot share all that I have learned in this past year and a half because it's a lot. Reading
Oh.
about God's story with his people has taught me so much about him. The more I know about God, the more I love Him. And just to summarize everything, being hungry about His word and satisfying that hunger has made me grow deeper in my faith and relationship with God. Daily, what
Mm.
excites me about my relationship with God is trusting that His plans are greater than my plans. That no matter how big my dreams are, His dreams are always infinitely bigger.
So now that you've lived in France for a couple of years, more than 2 years, right, to study, could you please tell us why you chose? So you're a Mexican, and I don't know if there are so many Mexicans in France to come to study, but could you please tell us why you chose France to study abroad?
Yeah, of course. It has always been my dream to come and study to France. It was mainly because of the language. I really didn't know about the culture. I was more into learning the language. But
Mm.
after finishing my bachelor, I wanted to pursue a master, and I researched France because I was really interested. And then I realized that for the field that I wanted to study, which was robotics, France was a very good option. It was, I think, it's one of the top countries in my field, and it has a lot of options for research and companies that are really focused on this area, and that's why I chose it. I just finished my master in robotics in France, yeah, in Nantes. And as for Mexicans, I haven't met many. I think just very few. I don't know why I don't see many around here. I have met many Latinos, and even one of my closest friends are ones.
So, as I often ask the people I interview, Cecilia, moving away from your country comes with great joys and opportunities and also some challenges, right? What was it like for you?
Yeah, I had a lot of challenges along the way. I lived abroad once. When I was 17, 18 years old, I stayed in the US for my last scholar year, which was my last year of high school. I stayed with an American family just to learn about the culture and to improve my English. And so I was not expecting a cultural shock as big as the one that I had here. The French culture is very different, and it took me some time to adjust. Even from the way they say hi and goodbye to you, which I know sounds very simple, but I'm still having some issues there. I'm still learning. And I think the hardest part, I think the hardest part at the beginning was the difference in time zone between Mexico and France, and just not being able to talk with my family at any time I wanted. Sometimes I used to feel really homesick, and for my parents was maybe 2 a.m., so I couldn't call them. So I think that was really hard at the beginning. And for example, also the food was and still is a big challenge for me. We have very different flavors, but I'm still learning to appreciate French cuisine more. And actually, this challenge brought me some friendships because I found that I'm not the only one missing my home flavors. So I found shelter and friendship cooking recipes with my other friends, cooking different plates from around the world with my international students.
How did Jesus make a difference in your life as a Mexican student abroad? And what did that teach you about him? Something that you understood all the better now that you are out of your country of origin. You know, sometimes we learn things better when we're just out of context.
Yeah, for example, my master was 2 years, but actually the first year that I was here in France, I did not have the best relationship with Jesus. So that actually allowed me to see the big difference that happened in my life when I allowed His presence, when I gave my life back to Jesus. I was more confident in school, for example, even if the subjects weren't getting any easier. I started to trust the decisions I was taking more, and I started to surround myself with people that could keep me in that path close to God. And I know Jesus taught me that He's all I need. That no matter how low you are or how far from home you can feel, He still got you. And I found in Him a peace that this world cannot give me.
So thank you, Cecilia, all for all this. It's really helpful. So one thing that comes through my mind is that when you said that when you were in France, you were not so close to God, but then He brought you back, and He used people to do so, right? And we believe as Christians that God is in control of all our migration. So you're not in France just because the language is beautiful and there's a very good school, but actually because God has brought you there for a purpose to bring you back to Him. Also, how can you share to us how He's using you to be His ambassador? Because we're ambassadors for Christ, which is what the Bible says, among the other people who you hang out with in that city of Nantes in France.
So I
Hmm.
think for now I'm just learning to let God use me in maybe just my actions in the way I talk to others. But yeah, I still think it's very important to go directly to people and to share the gospel. I'm still in the process of learning how to do that. But I think God
Yeah,
is
and I'm sure that God will. God, as God teaches you, God teaches all of us to do His will, and it is His gospel, it is His good news, and so we need to share it with our lives and with our words, and He will help us for what He wants us to do. So it's great to hear your experience, Cecilia. Thank you so much. Thank you for accepting again. Thank you for accepting to be interviewed. And I know that you are about to start a new job because you've just graduated not long ago. So God bless you in this new season of your life.
Thank you so much. And it was my pleasure being here. I was really happy to be part of this podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, why not leave us a review? Do subscribe so that you can automatically get the next episode. We publish an episode each week on Monday, in English every first and third Monday of the month, and in French every second and fourth Monday of the month. Our next episode in English will be in 2 weeks' time. We'll hear the story of Varric from the Pacific island of Vanuatu and learn about his very international life via New Caledonia, Australia, France, and now the UK. If you speak French, do join us and hear from Eveline next week. Eveline is a Malagasy PhD student who left her tropical island to discover the extreme cold temperature of wintry Montreal, Canada.